Let's bring in our guest. She's an award-winning ESPN NFL writer and one of the greatest celebrity game show contestants of our generation, an expert in analyzing crossing routes and crossword puzzles. Mina Kimes, thanks for being here.
What an introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
You deserve it, and you deserve all the good things that are happening as a big Seahawks fan. My goodness, you couldn't really ask for a better start, right? 3-0. Rams banged up on both sides. Cardinals look good, but they're going to be Cardinals. And then you got Christian McCaffrey. He's like rented a studio apartment in Berlin to check out his ailments. Are you pleased with the goings on?
Yeah, anytime you hear in Germany at the end of a sentence about an injury, you're feeling like, ooh. I actually think those for the Seahawks purposes, the injuries to the Rams and the Niners might actually be more of a big deal than the wins they have, given the level of opponents that they're facing. I did feel that people were low on Seattle coming into the season. You know, they
Mm.
didn't lose that many games last year, and I think they got better, and I really like the coaching staff.
I argue with Simmons about this. I think yours is the best. I think the NFC West has the best chance to produce three playoff teams, even with all the injuries. He says the NFC North, and we're going to get to see that battle of the two at the top this Monday. What do you think? Which division is
I would
toughest?
probably go with the North. If the West was healthy, I do think it is the West because I actually think all four teams are pretty good. And with the Niners and the Rams, if they're healthy, they're not just good, they're great.
Hmm.
But the North, I mean, the Vikings, Packers, Lions are all legitimately very good teams with, by the way, very good coaching staffs. That's the other thing about that division.
Yeah.
Outside of Chicago, I think it's probably the best coached division in the league right now. So I would probably agree with Bill and give it to the North. But if the Niners get healthy, maybe that changes things.
Everyone's got to agree with Bill all the time. God. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the NFC North, we were saying, may have three of six of the best, 6 or 7 best coaches in the league. So, aside from Joe Burrow's hair, what has been the biggest surprise to you so far in the NFL?
Yeah, I would say I was gonna say the Saints the first 2 weeks, but I think you saw that obviously come down to earth a
Yeah.
little bit. That would have been very surprising to me. I mean, probably the Vikings looking as dominant as they have. I've always been a Sam Darnold believer. I really have,
Hmm.
and that was not looking good for a long time. I'm trying to rebrand us as the Sampathizers, the people who have
Ooh, I like
ever
that.
lost. Yeah, it's not really catching on. I keep trying to. You ever do a thing where you try to make like an inside joke happen, but then the people you're trying to do it with just don't, just kind of ignore it
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Guys, I'm
throwing it out
serious
there?
about this. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
we did this with Sam Ellinger. It didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think what they're doing, even if Darnold comes down to, and he will, there'll be games where he, goes full Darnold and
Hmm.
makes some boneheaded mistakes. But I think what they're doing is the infrastructure is so good that it probably doesn't matter. Um, what offensively, like I feel like this is getting lost in it. Their number two receiver and their top tight end, so their number two and three targets have not been playing.
Yeah,
And
right.
yet the offense is still unbelievably dominant. And then defensively, I think Brian Flores, outside of Steve Spagnuolo, is the best defensive coach in football right now.
I have to agree with you. I think the biggest surprise because there are teams that you watch their offseason, you're like, wow, this team, this is it. This is a rebuilding year. I mean, they had 2 DUIs, one player, one coach. They had a draft pick die. They had obviously J.J. McCarthy go out, their first pick. It was like, all right, they have excuses, and good for Kevin O'Connell. He gets a free year. But now he's using the free year to campaign for coach of the year, I think, at this point.
He should be the coach of the year. And the funny thing about the Vikings, Sal, is when I don't know if you remember it was the year before last year, they went to the playoffs and then they lost to Daniel Jones
Mm-hmm.
Giants, setting up the Daniel Jones contract. That Vikings team actually felt fake to me. I don't know if you remember this, they had like a horrible point differential. All the
Yeah,
underlying metrics are really ugly, but they won all these close games.
right.
And the whole year I was like, I don't really believe in this team. And then they got smashed in the playoffs. I actually feel it's funny because like with Sam Darnold as the quarterback, it shouldn't be this way, but I actually feel like this Vikings team is more legit than that Vikings team.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they were like 12-1 in one score games or something
Yeah.
crazy. And then last year it flipped, not as
Yeah.
drastic, but pretty bad. All right, you talked about the Giants, Malik Nabers. We saw a great game from him last week against the Browns. He is not the offensive rookie of the year favorite. He was for about 20 hours, and then Jaden Daniels stole it from him Monday night. I'm trying to think of who his comp is. Do you do this all the time? Is this annoying?
Daniels?
Like I do? Malik Nabers, the receiver for the Giants.
Neighbors.
Yeah, is it Odell? I was just trying to look like size-wise, both 6 foot, 200. Looks like they're going to make dynamic plays every week.
Young Odell is actually a decent comp. What struck me the most about this week with Neighbors, and like coming out of college, I thought, oh, he's so fast. He's amazing with the ball in his hands. But I don't know like how complete his route tree is going to be. Can he be pressed? Can he win at the catch point? Is he strong enough? And what really, like, he was bodying that Browns defense. I mean, winning like tough physical catches. And I didn't know, it's not that I didn't know he was capable of that, but I think he's doing it at a level maybe I didn't see coming. But the touchdown with the body control, that felt like Odell. I mean, it's a little bit easy because obviously he's in the Giants jersey. And also I think similarly to Odell, it's not that he's not great, he's great, but he might look better than he is because the quarterback is not good.
Interesting.
Like, like Odell would get like crazy, and the reason he got some of those crazy catches is because they were not like really well thrown footballs. I actually think Malik Nabers might benefit from that as well.
Same kind of thing. Yeah, it looks like Daniel Jones is hip to just chucking it through the goalpost, and all of a sudden it ends up in Malik's hands somehow. A pass catcher who's not having as good a start, Travis Kelce. Is it just too easy to pick on him and like, oh, he's out of shape, he's not focused? He's also 34, and I feel like he can pick it up whenever he wants, but or is that with him?
It's a little bit hard to tell because sort of had same thing happen last year, right? And I do think they try to load manage his involvement a little bit. Like like last year, you really saw that where he started to get targeted more and used more as the season went on, and then peaked at the end of the season. Like earlier on, they're running a lot of the Kelce stuff through Rice, and it's fine. I mean, he's more explosive. He's younger. He's really good with the ball in his hands. I think I will probably. He's not moving well out there. Like he didn't really look that way last year either, and it didn't matter in January. So I guess I do think it's aging more than anything, but I also think it might not matter come January, February if he does what he did last year.
I think he's also, in addition to being compared to himself and how he moves, he's being compared to his girlfriend and how she moves for 4 hours a given night in a concert, which is just insane. So it's almost unfair to him. All right, Mina, your episode of Family Feud recently aired. I saw David Chang, a member of your family. You're not really related to David Chang, are you?
Could I lie and convince people that
yes,
we are?
Yeah, sure. Try
to lie. Yeah. Half brother.
I saw him the day after that taping, and he was despondent. I mean, he was like, everyone thought I was so smart. They saw me on Millionaire. They thought it was a joke that I was tanking answers. What I'm saying is you can go ahead and blame him because he blamed himself for the shortcomings.
Here's the thing about Family Feud. It's not about how smart you are. And in fact, I think our roster construction was terrible because of that. Because Chang was like, I'm going to get like all the Ivy League educated people I know. They completely backfired. Honestly, he's like the Trent Baalke of putting together a Family Feud team because you got to be in touch with the everyman. And our team was not in touch with the everyman. But it's not even the everyman. Like the answers are dumber than I don't know who they're polling for this stuff. But you got to really put your mind.
They're polling the dumb everyman. Yeah, that's what they're doing.
But worse, Sal, worse. I don't even. It was the hardest part was trying not to look like an elitist asshole during the taping when the answers would come up because I was just like, no, every time. And I can't believe we won. It was insane. We shouldn't have won. It was disgraceful. We were like the Chiefs getting all the calls.
Right.
And at the end, we came through because of David's horrible answers, by the way. Pablo Torre had a terrific comeback.
Right. It was good. And you famously helped David Chang win $1 million on Celebrity Millionaire a few years ago. And then he famously went and blew it all on a night of blackjack in the Cosmopolitan. It's not his fault. He was trying to double it up for charity. It's not, what are you going to do? Which did you feel more pressure on? The one millionaire question for $1 million?
Yeah.
Or the full half hour of
No, millionaire. Okay. I felt no pressure on Feud because I was Malik Nabers, honestly, on that team. They were surrounded by 4 Daniel Joneses.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people you could blame, sure. I did Celebrity Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. They did teams this summer I did with Jeff Ross. It was very nerve wracking and we didn't do well. And I think people think because we were A-listers, we were going to go out there, and A-listers are smarter than other, lesser known Hollywood heavy hitters, but that wasn't the case. But I was thinking about Millionaire, and what if a coach had to phone a friend on a 4th and 1 and we all got to see it? And, there's no shame in it. But Nick Sirianni, after missing the first 6 calls, is like, I'm going to call Bill Belichick and see what the Wizard thinks about this.
I would love to see this, to have some insight into Nick Sirianni's decision making, because, and I know this is a little bit on brand, like, oh, of course he's going to defend analytics. But the craziest thing about Nick Sirianni's decision is at least 2 of them went against the public models we have for decision making. Next Gen Stats and ESPN both recommended to not go for it, the other to not kick the field goal and punt, which, from watching games, it feels like the model's always like go, 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 right? Not the case for Nick Sirianni. So I'm watching this at home. There's you can consult a live model, and I'm thinking, what the hell is their internal model? Like, and I think this might be it. They're probably, someone's in his ear saying, don't, and he's ignoring them. Yeah. So I would love to know what's going on in his headset, because his decisions make no sense to me.
What did the numbers? I don't expect you to remember, but the 4th and 1 right before the half with 12 seconds left. That was wrong, right? To go for that. And then even more wrong that they didn't go for the end zone.
Was the 4th and 1 the one where they were in field goal territory and they could
they were at the 8 or 9 yard line or so, or maybe it was a 10-yard line, but
that might have been the one. I don't remember exactly, where one of them was a very clear kick the field goal. I can't remember exactly which one though. And it was puzzling.
That was a rough one. Let me ask you this, Mina. John Schneider, the Seahawks GM, contacts you and he says, hey, Geno Smith is probably going to step down in the next few years. He's not our quarterback for the next decade. And so when you catch your breath after this, he asks you,
I'm sad.
Go to the college ranks. Tell me what type, not exactly which player to rank, but build us a quarterback. Ideally, how many starts does he or she have under their belt? What conference, what are they good mobile quarterbacks? How old? We see quarterbacks coming out of college that are 28 years old and 23 years old. Give us your model.
I really prioritize mobility. I don't worry too much about the level of competition. For every Daniels who tore his way through the SEC, there's Bryce Young. I think for me, though, it's just kind of looking at, do they have traits? Do they have demonstrated success, not against the best opponents, but in difficult situations? All of that matters a lot. I like the kid in Miami. I haven't really spent a lot of time watching the college quarterbacks right now, but maybe he would probably be the one that piques my interest. But I'm sad. I think Geno can keep playing for a really long time. I don't know.
Well, it's a hypothetical. Yeah, I totally made it up. So you might not get that call after all.
I'd pick up the phone and say, hey, pay Geno. You should extend it.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's so funny, though, with Anthony Richardson didn't throw a lot of good balls last week, and people immediately go, well, he had 16 starts since high school. So I wonder if there's a threshold. Drew Brees has said 50 starts, but then that means probably 2 transfer portals, and you're looking at a 27-year-old, but maybe that's good. It's so funny how everybody looks at it differently.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen, was obviously a counterexample to all that, although you don't ever want to use him as an example of anything because he seems to be a historical aberration. I don't know.
Right. All right. Before we let you go, I have one more question for you. This is a thinker. This segment's called Cuz's Conundrum.
Cuz's Conundrum.
All right. You can handle it. You answered $1 million question on Celebrity Millionaire. This is easy. But I do have to take you back. Super Bowl 49, 25 seconds left. Russell Wilson, you know what happens. Passes on 2nd and goal. Malcolm Butler. Ugliness all around. Worst play in NFL history. I'm there watching with Simmons and Affleck and Damon. I hate to drop names, but it was an awful viewing experience for me and the rest of the world, I imagine. Okay. Especially for you, though. You have a chance to rectify this. On 2nd and goal from the 1, Pete Carroll chooses to hand off to Marshawn Lynch off tackle. So that other play is erased. You have a chance to win with the handoff. The only problem is the trade-off is you personally can never complete another crossword puzzle again.
You're giving me that choice?
That's the conundrum.
It's not a conundrum. I'm not handing it off. I'm still throwing it because throwing was the right decision, just not that throw.
Wow. Okay. All right. But I have to make you decide. So you're going to make another. You get a different
throw.
play.
I'll roll Russell out, perhaps. Give him an option. Little pitch, maybe. I don't know. I'm not doing that throw. I'm not doing a freaking into that much traffic.
Okay.
How about a conundrum for you? Do you let Tony Romo snap the football against the Seahawks in, what was it, 2014?
You have to go. You have to leave, Mina. This has been too long. This is
the
my conundrum. This is not
Kimes conundrum.
Mina's
Hey.
Kimes conundrum. Yeah, you have the alliteration. Well, I'm trying to fit the crossword thing in there. You'd be okay with giving up 36 down? Screws you every time. You can't get past it?
I'm doing the crosswords and I'm throwing a win the Super Bowl. It's not
it
a
doesn't seem like you're
false
making
dilemma.
a choice. She's getting the best of both worlds. That's what we love about Mina. You can see her NFL Live weekdays, ESPN, and subscribe. Let's hear Mina's YouTube channel and download the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny wherever you get your podcast, and even where you don't get them, you'll be able to find. Thanks for coming on, Mina.